Hope all of you can see this slide. Today we are continuing with our third lecture, and today I'll be discussing about the basic syntaxes, variables, data types, and operators. Right? Then we'll move on to the first of all we'll consider about the basic syntaxes. Under that, already we have written a program. Last week we have written the first program. There you met the term class. All the programs in the NetBeans as well as in Java are included as a class, right? Then if we consider a class, then it can be defined as a template or a blueprint which describes the behavior or the state which the object of its type supports. In later sessions, we'll see what is an object, but the main purpose of the class is to create the objects, right? Then we came across the main method last week. Hope all of you can remember that there's a main method in the program called as public static void main string args. That is the main method written for Java class. If we take the method, a method is basically a behavior. When we take a class, it can have many methods. Then methods are used to write the logics. Then data is manipulated in the method and all the actions are executed inside the method. Right? Method is used to write the logic, then to manipulate data and perform the actions and execute the data. Right? Then we'll move on to the next slide. Right? If you can't hear me, please inform me. Right? Then under the basic syntaxes, we can consider Java as a case-sensitive language. As an example, if we take these two terms, capital H hello and simple H hello, then Java identifies these terms as two different terms for all classes. Here mainly we are dealing about the class. For all class names, the first letter should be in uppercase. If several words are used to name the class, each inner word's first letter should be in uppercase. Right? If several words are used to name a class, each word's first letter should be a capital 1. All method names should start with a lowercase letter. If several words are used to form the name of the method, then each inner word's first letter should be in uppercase. Right? But method name should start with a lowercase letter. Name of the program file should exactly match the class name. Right? Class name and the program file's name should be same. Java program processing starts from the main method, which is a mandatory part of every Java program. Right? In later sessions, you can learn how to write several classes, but if there's a set of classes, then you should have main method in one particular class. In later sessions, we'll discuss these things. For the time being, we are writing single classes, then that class should have a main method, right? Without the main method, it will not execute. Then we'll discuss about the identifiers. Right? If we consider the identifier, these are the names used for classes, variables, and methods. All of these things are called as identifiers. All identifiers should begin with a letter A to Z, capital A to Z, or simple A to Z. Currency character dollar or an underscore. After the first character, identifiers can have any combination of characters. A keyword cannot be used as an identifier. The most important thing is identifiers are case sensitive. As an example, these are variables. Under variables also I have given these rules: age, dollar salary, underscore value, then hyphen, one hyphen value, right? This is about the identifiers. Then we'll have the modifiers. In Java, there are two categories of modifiers. One is called as access modifiers. Then other one is called as non-access modifiers. If we take the access modifier, it can take the form of default, public, protected, private. Right? Then non-access modifiers can be final, abstract, strict, FP. Right? In later sessions, we'll be discussing these things, how to define the private things. Usually we are using the public ones. Then later sessions, we'll discuss how to declare, how to use private modifiers. Then comments. In Java, there are mainly two types of comments. Single line comments that starts with two forward slashes. Then there can be multi-line comments that start with forward slash, asterisk, and ends with asterisk and the slash. These were the things which we meet when we are writing the programs using NetBeans IDE. And then we'll move on to the next topic, that is about variables. If we take a variable, actually each and every language we come across this term variable. If we take the variable, it provides a name storage which a program can manipulate. When we consider the Java language, Java's variable has a specific type. It will determine the size and layout of the variable's memory, the range of values which can be stored within that memory, and the set of operations that can be applied to the variable. In Java, you must declare all variables before they are used. Then the basic form of a variable declaration is given in this line: data type, then variable name, then within then use the equal sign, then value. If there are a set of values are defined, set of variables are defined with the same type, then you can use the comma. Here it says data type is one of the Java's data types. Data type is one of Java's data types, and variable is the name of the variable. To declare more than one variable of the specified type, you can use comma separated list. Right? This is how you can use a variable. Right? Then we'll move on to the rules of naming variables. Actually, this I have discussed under the identifiers as well. Then there are specific rules of naming variables. All variable names must begin with a letter of the alphabet and underscore or a dollar sign. The convention is to use a letter of the alphabet. the dollar sign and the underscore are discouraged, right? Always preference is given to declare a variable with a letter of the alphabet. Then after the first initial letter, variable name may contain letters and the digits of 0 to 9. No spaces or special characters are allowed with the variable name. The name can be of any length, right? There are no restrictions for the length of the variable name, but you should keep in mind that you have to type this name. Therefore, lengthier names are not encouraged because there are possibilities of missing characters as well as there are possibilities of making errors when the name length of the variable name increases, and also they are case sensitive. In addition to that, you are not allowed to use Java keyword or the reserved word for a variable name. Right? This is about the variables. Then we'll see the reserved words for the Java. There are several reserved words: abstract, catch, double, final, increments, native, public, assert, like this. Right? You are not allowed to use these reserved words in the variable names. Then we'll move on to the next slide, that is about data types. When we take Java, there are two data types available in it. One is called as primitive data type, other one is called as reference or the object data type. When we take the primitive data type, there are 8 primitive data types supported by Java. Then these data types are predefined by the language and named by a keyword, right? Then we'll take the first one as the byte. When we take the byte data type, it is an 8-bit signed whose complement integer. Then size of the byte data type is 8 bits. Then there are minimum and maximum limitations, values which you can store using byte. Minimum value is 128, maximum value is 127. For each and every data type, there is a default value. For the byte data type, it's 0. Then this data type is used to save space in large arrays, mainly in place of integers, since a byte is 4 times smaller than an integer. Right? This is how you can declare a byte variable. You can use the name byte, then variable name data type is byte, then variable name is A, assign 100. Likewise, you can declare byte variables in your program. Then the next primitive data type is the short. Right? If we take the short data type, its size is 16-bit. Then the minimum value is minus 32,768. The maximum value is 32,767. Then this data type is used to save memory as byte data type. Then short is 2 times smaller than an integer. Then the default value is again 0. In your program, you can declare a short variable in this manner. Data type is short, then variable name is S assigned 10,000. Right? This is how you can declare a short variable in your program. And the next one is int, frequently used data type. Then its size is 32 bits. Minimum value is this much, right? Minus 2, comma 147 likewise. Then maximum value is again this much. And this is generally used as the default data type for integral values unless there is a concern about memory. Right, again the default value is 0. As an example, you can declare an int variable in this manner. Int assign 100,000 likewise. Then the next data type is long. Its size is 64 bits. Then it can have minimum value as well as maximum value. Then this is used when a wide range, then int is required. If you want to declare a variable which is wider than an integer, then you have to use the long data type. The default value is 0L, right? As in the program, as an example, you can declare a long variable in this manner. Data type is long, assign 100,000 with capital A, right? Then the next data type is float. If we take the float data type, its size is 32 bits. This is mainly used to save memory in larger arrays of floating point numbers. Then default value is given as 0.0f. Then this type is never used for precise values such as currency. If you want to declare a float variable, then you can declare it in this manner. Float f1 assign 234.5f. Then the next data type is double. Its size is again 64 bits. This type is generally used as the default data type for decimal values, and it's the default choice. This should never be used for precise values such as currency. Then default value is given as 0.0d. In an example code, you can declare the variable in this manner: double d1 assign 123.4. Then Boolean type, it will represent 1 bit of information, then the size is 1 bit. There are only two possible values, true and false. The type is used for simple flags which track true-false conditions. Then default value is false. In an example code, you can use it in this manner: Boolean 1 assign 2. Then char type. Again, its size is 16 bits, Unicode character. Then there are minimum and maximum values which can be stored under char. Char data type is used to store any character, right? In a sample code, you can use it in this manner: char letter A assign, within quotations you can give the character A, right? Then we'll write a simple program using this. We'll write a simple program for the variables. Okay, we'll write a simple program using NetBeans. Then go to File, select New Project. Then select the Java application, click Next. Project name, we'll call it as today's date. We'll use This is now 29 third. Right? Class name, I'll give it as variables. Right? Create main class is checkbox is checked, then click finish. Then you will be directed to this source window. We can see the class name is appearing as public class variables. Then you can find the main method as public static void main string args, right? Then I will enter the program here. I will declare an integer variable called as first name, first number, right? First underscore number. Assign 10. I will give the value as well. After that, I want to display the stored value in the output window. And for that purpose, I will be using system.out dot print line and use the variable name first underscore number. Right, after that save the program, then run it. Right, in the output window you can see that value 10 is displayed, right? Then to add a statement for this, I can use quotations and say first number colon, then use cluster, then save, run the probe, and you can see the output is generated as first number assigned 10, right? Then better to take down this program in a piece of paper. If you are not taking a photograph of this, please take down this program in a piece of paper. For that purpose, I will give you a few minutes time. Right, there's a message which is requesting to show you first step for the program, right? First step, there's no first step. Actually, this is the code editor window. Then you have to enter these 2 lines in the code editor, source window, right? Source window. Last week I have taught you how to get into this screen, right? Go to File, New Project, then Java Application, click Next, then enter the project name, then give the class name, click Finish, right? Then you will be directed to this window. The name which you enter for the class will be the class name. Already I have taught you how to name the class and those things. Right, I think the given time is sufficient now. Then I will add some coding lines. I will gradually improve this program, right? My advice is not to compile it just now. Just take down the program or take a photograph of this. Then I will give you the time to do the compilation and check it. Then I will use another data type called as double. We'll use first number, again same thing, first underscore number, assign 10.5. Then, second number, assign 20.8. Then we'll use third number and the fourth number, right? Then answer. I'll say answer 1 for this. Then I want to get the total of these two numbers. Then I'll say system dot out.println. Right, already I have declared a variable called as answer, right? Answer 1. Then I can say answer 1 assign third number underscore number plus fourth number. Then to get the total, I can use that variable answer 1. Right, save the program, then run the program. Then you can see the result is coming as total of two numbers is 21, 31.3. Right. This is about the double type. Then I'll be using the float type as well. In that case, declare the data type as float. Here we'll say fifth number. Assign 10.5 f, then float sixth number, .8 f, then float answer 2 assign fifth number. Fifth underscore number plus sixth number. Sixth underscore number. Then we can generate the output. System dot out dot print line total of two numbers plus answer. Right, save the program and run it. And you can see that same result is appeared. Right, take down these programming coding lines. Right, then I will stop sharing this NetBeans window. Then again, I'll be going back to the presentation. We have already finished discussion of the char data type. Then I'll be moving on to the next data type. Already I have finished discussing the 8 primitive data types. Then we'll be moving on to the next type. That is about the reference data type. Then these reference variables are created using defined constructors of the classes, right? Actually, in future sessions, you will see and you will learn about constructors. For the time being, I have used this term, otherwise it will not be able, I won't be able to define this reference type. Then these are used to access objects. Objects also still we haven't used. Then reference variables are declared to be of a specific type which cannot be changed. As an example, employee can be declared as a reference type. If we take an animal called puppy, that is also can be taken as a reference type. Then class objects and various type of array variables come under the reference data types. Arrays also coming under reference data type in array variables are also coming under reference data type in Java. Then default value of any reference variable is null. You can remember that primitive data types were also having default values 0, 0 f like that. Then a reference variable can be used to refer any object of the declared type or any compatible type. This is how you can declare a reference variable. This is the name of the class animal. Then simple animal is the object. Then you can create a new object called giraffe, new animal. So This is an object creation line. In future sessions, you will come in to know how to use these lines. Anyway, this is the name of the class. Capital animal is the name of the class. Then newly created animal is simple animal. This is the object. Then the created object is the giraffe. Right? That's how will it come into operation. You don't have to worry much about these coding lines at this time, but in later sessions you will learn how to use these things and how to work with these things. Then we'll come across the casting. Actually, casting is conversion of one data type to another type in Java. Right? Then there are two types of casting is possible in Java. One is called widening casting. This will happen automatically. It is converting a smaller type to a larger type size. As an example, byte can be converted. Smaller type is the byte. Byte can be converted to short, short into char, char into int into long, long into float, and double like. Other form is narrowing casting. This you have to do manually, converting a larger type to a smaller size type. As an example, we can take the larger type as double, double into float, float into long, long into int into char, char into short, short into byte. Right? Likewise, you can apply casting for variables, data type casting, right? Then we'll use a simple program here. Right, then I will share this screen, again NetBeans screen. Hope all of you can see this program. This is the example given for the casting. Then I have declared a double variable called as my double and its value is 9.78. Then I have declared an integer variable called as my int. Its type is int. Now you want to manually cast the double to int. For that purpose, you have to use within brackets. My double is in double type, then within brackets you have to give it to int. Then double variable will be casted into int. Then system.out.println my double. If you use my double, then it will output the value as 9.78. But if you print the value of my int, then it will display as 9 because integers are not having decimal places. Now it's my double's converted value is stored in my int. Then it will display the value as 9. Right? This is how it works. Then take down this casting example. At the after finishing this session, actually you have to enter all these programs using NetBeans, then compile and get the output. Right? That is what I am expecting. Right? Remember that still I haven't started or written big programs. In later sessions, you will have to use more than one class in your project, and those things will be there. Day by day, we are moving into advanced areas. Anyway, take down this program. Right. Okay, then I will stop sharing the screen. Then again, we'll go back to the presentation. Then we will come across this term, which is called as literal. Then literal is a source code representation of a fixed value. Then they are represented directly in the code without any computation. Right? Literals can be assigned to any primitive type variable. As an example, this is a declaration of a literal. Here, 68. 68. This when we take this 68, it is a literal, right? Right. This is about the literals. Then we'll move on to the next term, that is enum, right? Enums were first introduced in Java 5.1, 5.0. Onwards, enums are used. Actually, this is a restriction of a variable to have only one of predefined values. If there are predefined values in a list, then you can use the enums. The values in this enumerated list are called as enums, right? Then the use of enums in Java reduces the number of bugs in the program. As an example, if we consider an application for a fresh juice shop, it would be possible to restrict the glass size to small, medium, and large. This would make sure that it would not allow anyone to order any size other than small, medium, or large. I think this is used in C++ as well. According to my memory, this is used in C++ as well. I'm not very sure. According to my memory, it's there. Then we'll come on to the next topic, that is about operators. If we take Java, then Java operators fall into following categories, following groups. One is called as arithmetic, then the other one is called as relational, bitwise, logical, assignment, and MISC operators. These are the groups of the operators available in Java. Then as the first one, we'll consider the arithmetic operators. Right. Hope all of you are familiar with the arithmetic operators. This is plus for addition, then minus for subtraction, then asterisk for multiplication. The slash is for division, then modulus, right? Then plus is to increment, then minus is to decrement, right? Then already we have used this plus sign. Anyway, I will write a simple program to give you this, give you the understanding of these arithmetic operators. Again, I will stop sharing the presentation, and again I'll be moving on to NetBeans IDE. Then I will declare two variables called as value 1. Assign, we'll say 50. Then value 2. $24, right? Then I will use these statements, system dot out dot print line, result of addition. plus, within brackets we can say value 1 plus value 2. Right, then save the program. Then run it. Then you can see the result of addition as 75. Then again I will use the other way. Plus, I will change the plus to minus, save, then run the program. Then you will get the result as 25. Here subtraction, value 1 into value 2. If you take the remainder, then value 1 exactly divides by value 2. 50 is divisible by 25. Therefore, the result is coming as 0. Right? And after that, now you can see this is coming under result of the increment. I have used value 1 plus plus, right? Now this plus plus is coming after the variable's name. Then to get the incremented value, again I have to use another statement. I hope that you are familiar with this pre-increment and post-increment things. Prefix, postfix, those things we have discussed in data structures and algorithms, right? To get the 51, you have to use another increment, another statement to print the value, right? Then, right, if you use this decrement operator before the variable's name, then in the first initial stage, first instance of the declaration, you can get the stored value there. First instance, you can get the decremented value, right? Then take down these coding lines in the paper. Right, then hope you have finished taking down this program, right? Then if you have any questions, ask now. Earlier there were how many members? No, 47. If you have any questions, please ask now. No questions. Then I will ask this question. Have you successfully installed this NetBeans IDE in your machines? Please give me a response. I'd like to know whether you have installed anything in your machines or not.
Yes, I have installed this mail.
Installed. Right, actually these are the things which I have planned to discuss for today because when we do these things in physical mode, actually though I am using this online mode, physical mode, usually this is up to this much will be sufficient for a day, right? Anyway, some time is remaining. Please compile these codings and check the errors. If you have errors, please try to correct those errors and get the practice of writing codings without making errors, because when we are moving into future sessions, it will be very difficult to correct the statements of system.out.println and those things, right? Then next day I'll be discussing the operator precedence and about the rest of the operators gradually, right? Please don't waste your time. Enter this programming coding lines to the editor and check the errors, right? Anything more which you want to know? Actually, the time is given you to compile the programs. Huh? Yeah, I haven't used any breaks and those things. Then enter the codes and compile. Okay. If there are no questions, I'll stop the discussion for today. Yeah, usually I have around 45, 50 students for the session. I don't know whether, according to my memory, there will be some more students. Anyway, then I'll stop the discussion for today, right?